Good morning, everyone. It's 10:01, and I can see more people joining, but we can make a start. So, a very, very warm welcome to all of you to RREUSE's 20th anniversary conference, broadcasting live from Brussels, but taking place fully online due to current circumstances. My name is Michal Len, and I'm the director of RREUSE, and together with my colleagues Kelly, Julia, and Jana, we'll be guiding you through today's very special event. Now, as with most major anniversary celebrations, you tend to reflect on memories and events of the past, but also picture yourself in where you want to be moving forward to. And this event is really no different. Today, we'll be looking at the evolution over the years of EU policy supporting reuse and repair and the role of social enterprises working in that space. What's there? What's missing? What's really needed to accelerate positive social and environmental impact on the ground? We'll also be looking at where social enterprises see themselves 10 to 20 years from now in continuing to deliver the circular economy and supporting their local communities. And all of this is in the backdrop of significant landscape change, bringing with it lots of challenges, but also opportunities. The impact of COVID, the uptake of digitalization, changes in consumer behavior and attitudes towards buying ethical, towards buying social, and some of these aspects we'll be discussing today. Now, for those of you who are maybe a little less familiar with our organization, RREUSE is a European network of social enterprises working in the circular economy, especially in the field of reuse, repair, and recycling. Today, our network counts 30 members across 26 European countries, with one also in the USA. Now, through our members, our wider community of nearly 1,000 social enterprises handle on average around 1 million tons of goods and materials annually. And these activities provide job and training opportunities to over 100,000 individuals, and the majority of whom are at risk of social exclusion. Now, recently we published a report based on some internal data showing that social enterprises active in the reuse of household goods are generating on average 70 jobs per 1,000 tons of goods collected. And this even rises up to 140 jobs per 1,000 tons of goods collected, depending on the product being reused in question. And it's the activity of reuse based on a social economy model that will be the topic of our discussion today. Reuse has clear social value in terms of job creation and skills development, and allows individuals from all income levels to access essential goods for their everyday lives. It also has, as we know, really positive environmental impact. With COP26 and unfortunately the missed opportunities may be still fresh in the back of our minds, extending product lifetimes through reuse and repair has to be a key strategy to decarbonize our economy. According to the latest Circularity Gap Report, 70% of greenhouse gas emissions are coming from the handling and use of materials that fuel our economy. Drastically reducing our consumption, reducing material flows just through reuse will make a huge difference. Now, many members of our social enterprise community have been active in reuse for decades, and we're absolutely delighted to see their recognition as pioneers in circular job creation in the Commission's Circular Economy Action Plan. One of our key objectives as an organisation is to help create synergies between the EU's circular policy agenda, including product laws, waste laws, strategies on textiles, electronics, so on and so forth, as well as the EU's social agenda, notably skills, jobs, procurement, and investment. We really hope to unlock new opportunities for the reuse community in doing so. And in this regard, we see the upcoming Social Economy Action Plan as a very big opportunity to help bridge the circular economy agenda with the social economy agenda and bring these two worlds closer together. And I hope Mrs. Paserman is with us already, but at this point, I think it's time to get this show on the road, and I'm really thrilled to introduce you to Mrs. Ruth Paserman, Director of Funds, Programming and Implementation at European Commission's DG Employment, to deliver our keynote speech. Now, Mrs. Paserman has had a distinguished career in the European Commission, including significant roles in 3 Commissioner cabinets, and is here to offer us a flavour of how Europe sees support for moving towards a more green and inclusive economy. And Mrs. Paserman, thanks so much for being with us, and the floor is yours.
Thanks a lot for the invitation, and congratulations for the 20th anniversary. It's really a good target. So I'm actually find it's a good big honor for me to be here and to be able to give you some ideas. So thank you for inviting the Commission. Now, REUSE is really actually largely recognized for the quality of your contributions to European policy making, and also for the work that your members achieve to make our economies and societies fairer and more sustainable. And in particular, your message that the green transition needs to be supported by strong social ambition is spot on. It is at the forefront of the policy debate today. While it's been some time that we have recognized that we need to act for the climate, there is, I think, really dawning on people the realization that this is not going to happen if it's not socially fair. So you have been ahead of the curve, I think you can say. So I think you can be proud of that and of your achievements since 1991. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the fact that we are preparing a social economy action plan that is supposed to come out in the next couple of weeks. This will provide an opportunity to boost the recognition and development of this alternative way of doing business, putting people and the planet first. When we announced the Social Economy Action Plan 2 years ago, the objective was to tap on the potential of the social economy to help deliver some of the main political priorities of the Commission, and namely the digital and green transition, but to ensure that no one would be left behind. Now, of course, with the COVID-19 pandemic, everything has changed, and there is a much more attention to the idea of needing an economic model that is based on resilience, on sustainability, on solidarity. And this is much more, let's say, visible and accepted. Policymakers at all levels, financial intermediaries and consumers, other stakeholders are all changing perspective. So in a way, the transformative power of the social economy has gained more momentum. Social economy and social enterprises help to tackle both immediate and long-term trends, to reduce inequalities, to create employment, to foster inclusion, to address climate change, and to foster democratic participation. Now, with the action plan, the Commission will put forward concrete measures to unlock the potential of the social economy. And we're doing this building on previous initiative. In particular, there's been, you may be aware, in 2011, the Social Business Initiative, and in 2016, the Scale Up Startup Initiative. What we have identified is that we need to develop an enabling framework for the social economy. The policy and the legal frameworks need to be adapted to this specific business model, including in specific areas such as state aid, public procurement, and taxation, for example. So the action plan will seek to mobilize all relevant stakeholders around these objectives, including at national, regional, and international level. The action plan will also look at opening up opportunities through enhanced support to capacity building, to skills development, and improved access to funding. Our role at the European level is also to make sure that innovative solutions applied in our corner of Europe can be scaled up or replicated so that they can have a positive impact also elsewhere. We need to boost social innovation across the EU. Another important objective is, of course, to promote a better understanding of the specificities of the social economy by all the relevant stakeholders, including policymakers, financial intermediaries, social partners, and so on, because the positive impact of social economy has to be more visible and has to be better recognized. So we're going to be working on that. Now, if I move more to issues that you are perhaps more interested in, the social economy is an important proponent of the green transition and contributes to the development of sustainable practices, as I reminded at the beginning. This is already happening today in fields of organic agriculture, low carbon energy cooperatives, reduction of waste, provision of financial support to environmentally friendly activities. If I focus on the links between the social economy and the circular economy in particular, there's even more to say, because for many decades, social economy organizations have been pioneers in implementing circular practices and business models, such as your members, the social enterprises active in repair, reuse, and recycling activities. your members have demonstrated extensive experience in various sectors, recognized as priorities for the circular economy, such as electronics, foods, plastics, and textiles, for example. You have understood the economic potential of used goods well before others did, and you have invented a business case around giving a new life to numerous goods while promoting social inclusion. So this was at the time truly innovative, but it still remains so, and we have to continue to go in this direction. You have therefore clearly a role to play in achieving the objectives of the European Green Deal, and I think it is important to recognize it. Now, the Commission has a partnership with the OECD, and together with the OECD, we have conducted an analysis of social economy's contribution to the circular economy. And this has led to a report, so-called policy brief, that will be published soon. And it is actually intended to help policymakers make the most of the social economy's potential in this field. Now, okay, the report is not published yet, so I can't go through the whole content, but perhaps I could just mention that, of course, it confirms that social economy can make the circular economy more inclusive, resilient, and attuned to the specific needs of individuals, firms, and communities. While people sometimes feel disoriented in view of the upcoming challenges, social economy empowers them. And therefore, the social economy can also improve the social acceptance of green technologies. Now, how to make the role of the social economy even stronger? Good practices exist, and I think they need to be shared widely. I'm looking forward to contributions that we will receive through the interventions of interesting stakeholders today, and as well in the context of our continuing dialogue, which is very topical and very useful. I don't want to go too much into detail today, but there's just one area perhaps where I think there's more could be done and that we will seek to address in the upcoming action plan. We believe that important mutual benefits could emerge from partnerships between social enterprises and mainstream companies, including in the area of circular economies. On one hand, it is important for social enterprises to connect with standard businesses in order to professionalize, scale up, or diversify their products and services. But on the other hand, standard businesses frequently need social enterprises in order to initiate their shift to a circular economy and to bring it to a higher level. So giving your experience and the innovative potential of your members, I think we think you could be of great help to support an exchange of good practices in this area. I would like to conclude by calling on all the participants at this event to help the Commission make the most out of the unique window of opportunity that opens up with the publication of the Social Economy Action Plan. With this action plan, the Commission will send a clear signal to all public authorities that the work on social economy organizations is important for the European Union and that we actively need to support them. And we also want the action plan to help social economy organizations make the most of the opportunities that exist at European level. The contribution of organizations like RREUSE is essential for us to ensure that stakeholders on the ground are aware of these opportunities and understand them. So we need your help to help us make a difference. The adoption of the action plan is just the beginning of this new phase of recognition and development in the social economy, including social enterprises active in the circular economy. So we really will need also your enthusiasm and your energy to make sure that we make the most of it. So thanks a lot for your cooperation and for continued support. And I'm very much looking to the next steps in this adventure. Thank you very much. I see someone. Okay.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Paserman, for your words. That's we really appreciate, let's say, your kind words, not only about our members' impact, but also in terms of the fact that you see support for social enterprises within the Commission, certainly active within the circular economy and the green transition as really a key priority within your work. And that really for us is excellent. We're really looking forward to the upcoming OECD report. I'm not sure whether you would know more or less when it would be published. I guess that's one small question. But as a general point, we'd just also like to extend our thanks to DG Employment, as we're a close partner with DG Employment, and I think this partnership has really allowed a reinforcing of this bridge between the social and circular agendas, which couldn't really, I don't think, have happened otherwise. So we really appreciate the support of DG Employment for the work of REUSE and for the work of our members. The point you raise on the private sector and cooperation between social enterprises and the private sector, I think, is very important. We'll be discussing that a little bit later in panel number 2. And it's true that we don't see ourselves as working in a vacuum, and it's really important to have close cooperation, especially in circular activities moving forward with the traditional private sector. So I think, I'm just having a little look. I think we don't have any questions in the Q&A session. We are exactly at 20 past. So I think, yeah, go ahead.
Because there's a comment from a colleague from Spain. And I just take the opportunity, well, I can answer.
Please do, I didn't see it. Please do.
But in general, I think, well, anyway, we see clearly that the environmental world and the social world have been living parallel worlds. They haven't really been linked together. And therefore, that is one of the main objectives that we hope to achieve with the action plan, is also to help these two worlds get closer together. Which I'm not saying this, but this is the first step for the basically the environmental authorities also to see the possibility to, how can I say, because to take into account the specificity of social economy, social enterprises, and therefore also possibly, I'm not saying it's going to happen very soon, but the first step is that the two worlds talk to each other and therefore also recognize their own specificities, and that can also help in improving eventually the process of getting licenses, etc. It's not going to happen on day one, but I think we're aiming for that anyway.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, Mrs. Paserman. And I think on that note, you've given us a fantastic platform to jump into our first panel, which will be led by my colleague, Julia, who will be speaking about the past, present and future with regards to policy support for reuse and repair, and also bringing into discussion how can we bridge those gaps between the social and circular world. So I'll hand over to Julia and have a great first panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I hope everyone can hear me. So I would like to welcome you to our first panel, which will take place now. And I believe that the keynote speech really has set the ground nicely to our policy discussion, where we will talk how these worlds, social and environmental, can talk together. And firstly, we will take stock of the present trends of the policies, and later we will cast a look into the future outlook. And the panel will be structured in 2 parts. So first part, as I mentioned, will focus on the current policies, and we will talk then about the future. So allow me this opportunity to also present our honorable speakers. So first of all, Patricia Busse. Hello, Patricia. She's director of ENSI, the European Network of Social Integration Enterprises, and also vice president of the Social Economy Europe. It's really a pleasure to have you here. Then we have Stefan Arditi from European. Hello, Stefan, from European Environmental Bureau, and he is director of Policy Integration and Circular Economy. Stefan is responsible for circular economy and its integration with other policy dimensions, which is very topical today, such as climate, industry, and sustainable development goals. And then we have Matthias Netsch, who is the president of REUSE and the managing director of REPONET, the Austrian NGO for social economy, reuse enterprises, and reuse and repair networks. Hello, Matthias. So I would like to start with my first question. First to you, Patrizia. In your experience, how do you think EU policies have evolved to support social enterprises? And do you have any policies in your mind which you think are making a big difference?
Okay, so thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. And first of all, let me say that it's a big honor for me to speak in your anniversary conference. You are, we can say, a brother network, which we work together. We are working together since many years. So I'm very happy that we are now continuing to work together and to share this road, we can say, for a more inclusive and sustainable Europe. So this is, yes, my first point. Congratulations to RREUSE and to the staff and the member. And then coming back to the questions, what we can for sure say concerning especially the development of social economy and social enterprise is that in this last 10 years, the attention on social economy and social enterprise was higher and increased from the point of view of European institutions and also from the point of view of member states. And this was for sure thanks to the launch of the Social Business Initiative. That was this initiative supported by 3 commissioners of the past European Commission, and it was launched really in 10 years ago in these days, because the communication was launched in October, and there was a big event the 18th of November. And this social business initiative fix some concrete EU level action in order to create what was called a favorable environment for social enterprise. And this was a first step that then was followed also by a big step by the Council of the European, the Council conclusion of 2015, the one of Luxembourg, concerning the promotion of the social economy as a key driver for economic and social development. And then, as it was already said by Mrs. Paserman, there was the confirmation of the interest from the Commission with the Startup and Scale Up initiative. And then, for sure, there was the big announcement made by the Commission and by the President of the Commission in January 2020, with this plan for the social economy that we are now all waiting for. And this is for sure one of the big change and the big policy change. This was also, we can say, accompanied by other policy, for sure, in a very concrete way. We can talk about the EU public procurement rule that were revised in 2014, and at that time there was a more social input within this directive, within the social criteria and also the reserved contract. This was a big opportunity for sure in the exercise of transposition. The result was not the same in every member state. There were and there are some member states in which the transposition then really bring to some successful good practice and successful developments. And for sure there are countries in which the transposition in reality didn't and doesn't have a real impact. But what was written and the message of this directive was also very clear. In order to develop social enterprise, we need to do many things still on this file, and we will talk about this later, but this was already a very good result. And if I can say the last point that for us is really crucial It concerns a last policy launched in March 2020 with the Foundation for an Industrial Strategy by the Commission in order to support the twin transition to a green and digital economy. And what was there very important, because looking at this title, I have just said, we don't find the social in. But in reality, if we go more in deeper, within also the crisis and the COVID-19 pandemic, a more target approach was required. And there the Commission really answered to these, creating 14 industrial ecosystems for this industrial strategy. And what is important is that one of these industrial ecosystems is really on social economy and proximity. So the social come in also in this industrial strategy in which we talk about digital and green transition. So there is really something very, very important. We start really to have social also in this domain. Then I think for now, I stop here and then I will continue later. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patrizia. It's great to hear from you that you have seen a positive evolution throughout the 10 years, an increasing amount of the social references. And once again, I guess it proves that policy can be an enabler, and especially for the social economy community and the social enterprises. And now I would like to, on this note, pose the question to Stefan, which I know has a bit different perspective, more environmental perspective. So from your point of view, what have been the key policies which are leveraging the social value in the circular transition?
Well, good morning all. I hope you're fine. Let me first wish a happy birthday and long life to RREUSE, and also thanking you for inviting the EB to take part to your conference today. Let's say that I'd like to come back on something said by the European Commission. I think it's really time to recognize the model of social economy to be adapted to our current situation. I mean, where we need to converge environmental and social policy. And in fact, social economy act most of the time as maximizing value retention of product and materials and saving on resource and climate. And I think, as it's been said, but I'd like to reiterate, we've got to learn from the social economy practice and how this convergence, notably in the circular economy field, is a model for the future, but also for right now. I mean, it's not something we should postpone too long over time. When it comes to example of policy which kind of supported social economy, I would say without necessarily saying it, because according to me, in the environmental field, it is in the Circular Economy Action Plan of 2020 that for the first time, it's really clearly established that there is something specific for the social economy. In the environmental sector, when we refer to the work performed by social economy, in fact, it goes without saying it. So we speak about reuse centers, for example, but we do not speak about social economy per se. So I think it's good that in the circular economy, there is this proper recognition. The example of policy converging this environmental and social dimension, I would say, first is this very famous waste hierarchy, because in the waste hierarchy, you start with prevention. And it is clear that whatever comes with reusing devices, repairing them, extending their lifetime is part of prevention. And I think the waste hierarchy, which is a binding policy at your level when it comes to waste management, is, I would say, the first and main framework to channel social economy in environmental policy. More specifically, we've got, but rather at national level, some reuse target, notably in Spain when it comes to electric and electronic waste. Also in France now, they've been recognizing the key role of reuse and repair with special fund for repair and reuse. And in the EU policy, what we have is formulation such as in the waste of electric and electronic equipment directive, or more recently in what we call the Waste Framework Directive, Article 11, where the member states are encouraged to provide a priority access to reuse center in waste facilities or container parks, so that reuse center can maximize preparation for reuse opportunity, and again, in fact, prevent waste, or kind of enable an exit out of the waste status through preparation for reuse activities. So I think these are the main policy I can identify, which really open some opportunities for the social economy. But let me be clear, I think it's very limited at the moment, and including in terms of going up the waste treatment hierarchy, but also all the promise that I hope will be fulfilled by the Sustainable Product Policy Initiative with regard extending lifetime, repairability of product, reusability of product, upgradability of product. There are many things that still need to be unleashed in terms of potential. But I know that we'll have another round of questions about the future, so I don't want to anticipate too much. I would say that at the moment, according to me, the place to the social economy, to what the social economy can bring to the circular economy, is still quite limited, and most of the time delegated at national level, not yet, I would say, really anchored in EU policy. And I hope that during the debate on the future, we can go more into what could be done to, anchor better the social economy and the performance they can bring with regard material saving and climate emission avoidance for the EU economy. Thank you. I'll stop there.
Thank you very much, Stefan, for such insightful presentation. And indeed, social economy can be the value maximizer, but we also ran into this problem of promoting waste hierarchy and its social impact of reuse, for example, but it's not evident yet everywhere. So looking forward also for you to sharing insights in the next round of questions on the future. And now I would like also to again say hi to Matthias, and also ask you from your perspective as a both stakeholder on the ground and lobbying at the European level, what in your experience are the successful policies which have been contributing to supporting social enterprise in the reuse sector?
Yeah, first of all, let me say thank you to you all being here. I see there are between 75 and 80 people in the audience, so that's really great. And I think it's even more than have been in our physical conferences that we had in the past. So obviously, the online format is not limiting the communication, and hopefully in the future there will be a hybrid form of physical and online meetings to reach even more people. So from my side, a big hello to everyone from RREUSE. We are 20 years old now. 20 years is an age where a young person usually is finalizing more or less their youth and becoming a fully productive member of society. And so this is what we are going to do now. After 20 years of development, we think we have now reached a stage where we can really participate in the regular economy of the European Union and make reuse a standard part of regular economy and not only a niche economy. So this is what is our claim. This is our demand, and we are sure that we are doing it within the next few years, because what is needed now is an understanding of the fact that we are on our way to a maintenance economy. The current economy is based on scaled industrial mass production, and this has proved to be not sustainable. So we have to make our economy circular, and circularity does not mean recycling. Recycling is just a little part of circular economy. It is more or less the end the end of when you have done everything you can do and nothing else is possible with a product or an infrastructure or a mass stream, then you can consider recycling. So that's it. And everything happening before has the aim of keeping products as long as possible within the economic circle. That means we have to work with what we already have. The most sustainable product is the product you already have. And so we have to leave this path of having more and producing more every year. So what we have to do in the future is to use less, but better and longer. And this is more or less the essence of circular economy. And so the economy making this possible is a maintenance economy, and the maintenance economy is more or less a descaled industrial production. It's an economy where human labor and human skills are needed a lot more than they are needed now. Now the highest human skills are needed to more or less to steer the machines that maintain the mass production. And in the future, the highest skills that human beings can contribute to the economy is knowledge about individual single products, how to maintain them, how to repair them, how to prolong their life, which is really a complete shift of the economy, and that will happen within the next, I would say, 2 decades. It takes usually these changes take 1 generation. That is a long time if we think about climate change. And I would like to bring to your attention the fantastic Circularity Gap Report. The latest one, published this year in spring, says that if all the states of the world, all the countries of the world really implement the measures they promised within the Paris Agreement, then this will bring us only 15% of what is needed to have the Earth warming below 2 degrees Celsius. So if we want 1.5 degrees, what is the actual goal, we need 85% more ambition of climate action. And this can be reached by circular economy, because the highest impact of climate emissions, climate change, is by the material streams, by extracting resources from the planet, producing products out of them, transporting them all around the globe, and using these products. So that is 70% of what is produced as CO2 emissions. And only the rest of the 30% is transport heating, and lighting. And all we are discussing in the climate debate is heating, transport, and lighting. We don't talk about the 70% rest because everyone obviously thinks that we can still have economic growth, that we can still have the growth of mass flows, and this is what we have to understand, that if we really want to see climate change not happen, or not, at least not in that big form, then we have to reduce our mass streams, and that is what circular economy is all about, and that is what a maintenance economy means, and that is what we as REUSE social enterprises of Europe can contribute to that, and so every euro you spend into supporting social economy reuse enterprises is having not only one impact on the social economy, but three other impacts. It has a waste reduction impact, it has a climate emission reduction impact, and it has a resource saving impact. So I think the best money you can spend to transform the economy is to spend it for social economy reuse enterprises, and that is more or less what is our challenge now. That is the challenge of our network, and what makes it easier is the fact that REUSE creates roughly 10 times more jobs than the traditional relatively progressive waste management, including good recycling. So even if you have a really good national waste management system with a high level of recycling, REUSE is still creating 10 times more jobs per kilo of material. So that is our big chance. And that is more or less what the service or maintenance economy is all about, to work with the material instead of producing and using and throwing the material away. So the social economy can support this transition into a circular maintenance economy, a climate neutral and just economy. Our function as social enterprises, from my perspective, is that we can lead the way where the free market still cannot offer feasible solutions for this maintenance economy, and we can also, on the other hand, buffer the negative social side effects of the just transition that we have to go through within the coming years. So it is our role to make this transition really a just transition, and that is more or less our perspective. And what, coming back to your question, Julia, what was the success of the past? What made our social enterprises successful is the cooperation, the cross-sector cooperation with other sector. First of all, the waste management sector. So we need a strong.
Sorry, Matthias, just to say that would be good if you would be wrapping up soon.
Okay, thank you very much. So I just wanted to wrap up that our success is the cooperation with other sectors, with the waste management, but also with repair industries, with service economy industries, and because our main goal is to integrate long-term unemployed people into these new jobs, where we are the pioneers to create these fields of businesses, but it's not our main function to work in these fields of business. That is the function of other industries, where we integrate the people into that. So thank you very much, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you very much, Matthias. And I think that you made a really clear point why we should invest in the intersections between social and circular economies and our sector. And this leads me to the second part of the discussion, how we can achieve this paradigm shift. How can we achieve the paradigm shift towards the maintenance economy, which I think is also a brilliant term, and we should promote it more. So maybe I will start again with Patricia, asking you, what could be the future policy mechanisms which would be empowering social enterprises more, according to you?
Okay, perfect. So I think I will share with you the point that as ENSI we have raised, especially for the Social Economy Action Plan publication. These are points that really concern social enterprise, which try to create an employment for people in needs in every type of sector, and for sure more and more with this idea of a circular economy that should be present now, I think, in all the sector. The first point, we think it's crucial. It's really to have a new recommendation on the definition of social economy enterprise, and especially also of what we call work integration social enterprise. I know that some of your members also recognize themselves with these terms. It's important because this is not really compulsory for the transposition into national law, but this will allow us, as also a European and our member as national stakeholder, to really try to let member state and public authority at other level that are not European to understand what we are talking about, because it's true that there are sometimes still confusion, and especially within the WISE concept, what is really important is really to understand that they are doing a double type of activity. The activity of creating a service, producing some really concrete, but at the same time, they are really providing the service of work integration or reintegration of disadvantaged people. And this last service is a shared responsibility. So it's correct that member states participate for this service with some financial support. And unfortunately, this is not always the case in every member state. And we think that a clear idea of what are social economy enterprise and WISEs at European level can help also member states to understand this point. And then for sure, there are some concrete point that regard European legislation that we have suggested. We know that every regulation, every directive has its proper, we can say, life. So they are not now all in a revision phase or in a phase of rewriting it, but we think that a reference to some of them and to the need of changing some of them could be crucial within the Social Economy Action Plan. And for example, always concerning work integration, it could be interesting to have a general recognition of their activity within the general block exemption aid, that is the regulation in which the definition of support, financial support to disadvantaged and several disadvantaged workers is fixed. And we have also some other points that are interesting always for our enterprise concerning the training. We think that other point can be done on the de minimis regulation to facilitate this type of enterprise that have a social objective among their main objective. Many times we heard within our network, I think it's more or less the same in yours, WISE is struggling with this de minimis regulation. So there is sometimes problem, and perhaps the minimum sailing that is now fixed to 200,000 over 3 fiscal years could be revised if we talk about enterprise with specific social aim. We also share the fact that there are some field and also policy that need action of RREUSE awareness towards national and regional and local authority, because there is no clear information. We can, for example, talk again about public procurement. For sure, that could be improvement in the directive, but the directive has already many good points. What is needed is really that member state now put concretely in action what is in their law that has been transposed from this directive. And so RREUSE awareness activity, training, good practice can be helpful for this. And then also concerning the general, the service of general interest, on this as well, there could be RREUSE awareness activity for member state. And within this RREUSE awareness activity, what is also always crucial is to have also the stakeholder at the table. I know we have already shared also some point with RREUSE concerning the necessity to reduce value added tax for the product and service that are made by enterprise with a specific social aim as a work integration and contribute to social welfare. These are some legislative changes that we really think are needed in order to improve our sector. There could be also a general point on some facilitation or for having access to specific funds, really because the way of doing social economy that put the human being before the profit should be recognized and should be also promoted by first European Commission, firstly the European Commission, and then also by the member state. We cannot always, as it was already said, try to find solution to the mistake done. We have in front of us an economy that have already proved that it's a good economy with good principle. So we really need a way to promote it and to recognize it, and not always to ask this economy to repair, as you were saying, the damage of the system. And this is my last point. This is concerning also the upskilling and reskilling. There is the European approach to micro-credential for lifelong learning. So these micro-credential are qualification evidencing learning outcomes that are acquired during a short, transparently assessed course and module. And we think that enterprise as work integration social enterprise must be recognized also within this approach, and so must be open so that also disadvantaged worker can improve their possibility to have access to flexible lifelong learning, and so can really be upskilled and reskilled. These are some ideas. For sure, we can discuss later of other, because this is not the end of the list.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Patricia, and really important points there. And I hope that we will see them in the upcoming Social Economy Action Plan reflected, at least to some extent. And it seems there's still a long road. So now I would like to also ask Stefan, and also just a short comment to the Stefan and Matthias, if you could make your presentations within 5 minutes each, so we could have time for a little Q&A. That would be great. So Stefan, like from your perspective, what is needed still in terms of future policy making to make these links between the social and environmental policies and
Okay, thanks, Julia. I'll try to go through some policies which for me are promising. Something I'd like to maybe stress is that complementing about what Patricia has said, because I think she said something very important. There is the need for the recognition of the social economy added value for the society as such, notably the fact that you reintegrate in the, I would say, labor, some public that may not easily find a job or a training or vocational activities without you. I think this is extremely important. I'd like to present, I would say, the other side, which is how can we also design the product, design our policy so that the role of the social economy can be unleashed and properly grasped. So I think the two are kind of complementary, but my environmental hat makes me more expert and more comfortable to speak from the environmental policy because this is what I know better. So first, I think we've mentioned for years, or also together in our advocacy paper with RREUSE, the fact that we need to more clearly distinguish between reuse and recycling. And at least in most, if not all, EU policies on waste, it's systematic that we put together reuse and recycling achievement. And that means that, in fact, most of the time, we dedicate efforts toward recycling, sometimes at the expenses of reuse. So I think the first thing I would say, which is a kind of easy one that could be taking place in the ongoing discussion on battery directive, but that could also take place in the future end-of-life vehicle directive to be now discussed more intensively, but also to reflect better how we can implement the Waste Framework Directive is really setting systematic reuse targets separate from recycling for durable goods, notably when it comes to electric and electronic, textile, furniture. And ideally, I would say, try to integrate this reuse objective as part of the extended producer responsibility performance to be achieved. Because I think there would be recognized first as waste prevention practices. And also, it is my understanding, but here Matthias may step in at a later stage, that when reuse objectives are integrated in extended producer responsibility, that also, I would say, is the collaboration between, you know, private actor and social economy. But Matthias may say more about this. The second thing I would say is extremely important is that, again, through the design of product, we enable the possibility of reuse activity. I would say that I don't think that suddenly we can create a kind of a new product line out of social economy. I hope I'm wrong, and probably some very inspired social economy entrepreneurs may have ideas for new line of product. But I think more reasonably, we can say that a way to develop the social economy is to make sure that the product we placed on the market are reusable and repairable. And I think this is one of the main things we should push together as part of the Sustainable Product Initiative and the reform of eco-design to come early next year, hopefully before spring 2022, because I think that would really unleash a lot of potential for this maintenance economy that Matthias was referring to. At the moment, it's my understanding that it's not necessarily easy. I mean, even if we all know that reuse center try to make the best, it's not necessarily easy for them to disassemble the product, be able to replace some key components. And the experience we've got with Repair Cafe is that it's growing, but still there are kind of technical barriers that, despite all the good willingness you can inject in your activity, there is nothing you can do. And I think this is really problematic. So that's something I think really need to be addressed. If for the building sector, I think we have the equivalent if we could set pre-demolition audit and deconstruction obligation before demolition. I think here that would also be a massive potential for me for the social economy to come. We've got some experience in Repanet, Austria, in Belgium with rotor deconstruction. And it is very clear that here there is some potential for material saving, but also for training people. And we know that in the building sector, it's not always easy to find people willing to go in that sector. It's a bit of a hard sector. So I think this is really where we could, as part of the, for example, building renovation wave, try to unleash that potential. I think also in terms of green public procurement and more broadly sustainable procurement practices, we could include some social clause and social economy partnering. So that something we could promote. And if we manage to get green public procurement more binding, I think here there is a clear opportunity for this, but also as part of the corporate social responsibility and the governance directive to be issued 8th of December or a bit later on, there might be some possibility to include social clause in how we monitor the governance of private companies. I think also we need to integrate social criteria in product policy. So at the moment, for example, as EB, we try to push for mandatory due diligence to place product on the market, but this is what we call a kind of safety net, you know? So that means that it's on no labor child, proper working condition and a right for trade unions. But I think if we go in that direction, the next step would be to have more constructive and what I call beyond the safety net, something that will create positive benefits for the economy. And if we could go in that direction, so beyond the safety net due diligence toward positive social benefits, there would be a possibility to recognize when an activity is performed by social economy. And for example, this is something that would also be questioned in the ongoing discussion on the taxonomy, you know, because in the taxonomy for green finances, we may discuss social criteria. I think we could try to have a better recognition. And why is that important is because in all the report I read on, for example, alternative business model for a circular economy, very often we hear about sharing, leasing, you know, accessing rather than ownership. But when new business model includes social clause, it is not recognized as an alternative business model yet. You see my point? So I think it would be important if we include the social criteria in product and waste policy. That would also unleash the idea that, okay, alternative business model can also be social economy model. And even if they perform exactly the same activity, the fact that they fulfill an additional mission in terms of social benefits should be recognized as alternative business model. And finally, I think it's very important to have the social economy supported through structural fundings, like with specific call for project. I think there would be hopefully following the plan for social economy, the action plan for social economy, some specific call for project for social economy. And for me, it's also important because that would help gather data and report on achievement, because at the moment, it's still something where it's difficult, you know, in a sector which is not necessarily structure equipped with all the infrastructure necessary to report achievement. Maybe some of the added value cannot be really reported. And I think the sector should be helped for this. I also want to highlight something that, for example, we work on battery at the moment, and we had to investigate through the reuse sector, through the repair sector, to get data that are not produced by any other sector at the moment. And I think that's also something important, making the social economy report on things that no other part of the economy report on. And I hope I have a concluding remark on well-being and higher level policy, but I stop there because I think I'm already beyond my 5 minutes. Sorry for that. You're muted, Julie.
And now? Thank you very much, Stefan. A very extensive list of measures from eco-design to social criteria. And I think that also complements thinking of other speakers. So now, Matthias, if you could very shortly also cast a look into the future, and then we will open the floor to Q&A before I will give you the floor for a very short last remark. So Matthias, from your side, what is still needed?
I would, we heard many details from the social policy side and from the environmental policy side, and there's not much to add. I absolutely support both of your statements and your demands, and both will really help us. I just want to add one point. We should in the future pay for reuse. Because we have the European Union has a long tradition of balancing market failures, and the best example is the agriculture. We have a European agriculture which is not competitive with the world market of agricultural products. So what is the European Union doing? We pay the farmers for still doing farming. We should apply this principle also on the circular economy and on reuse especially. So if we want reuse, if we want to close the loops, then we have to pay for it, because the international markets confront us with an unfair competition. It is a lot cheaper to import a trash product produced in a low-wage country under environmental circumstances which are catastrophic. It's still cheaper to import such a product to Europe instead of repairing and maintaining an already existing good quality product that is already here. So if we want that, we have to pay it. And we have to pay per kilo reuse a certain amount of money, as we pay for recycling, as we pay for waste management, for composting, for incineration or whatever, to protect our environment from negative effects. So in the future, we have to think about to pay also for reuse. That is my only point. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you very much. So now I would like to also look into the Q&A section, and majority of the questions have already been answered, since there has been a lot of discussion between the participants today, but let's take the remaining ones. So Simone Font is asking that and saying that in textile and fashion industry, fostering reuse practices is still really difficult, because most of the time business models don't fit with the fast fashion industry purpose to produce and sell more and more. So her question is, do you think they'll change their business model, or consumers' awareness will force them to change it? So I guess it would be more to Matthias or Stefan, whomever of you would like to reply to this question.
Well, I can make it short. I think we will, they will change only by force.
Well, let's say I would be, I tend to agree with Matthias. I think I dislike the word force because I think if we use policy is to avoid using force. But I think that's what Matthias wanted to say, that there is no way we can stop the fast fashion and the fact that you can get a new t-shirt for €2 without setting clear target on total amount of fashion to be placed on the market. But still, I think as part of this product policy and without pretending that will solve the whole problem, last time I was in a meeting with a Spanish organization trying to reuse and resell secondhand clothes, garments, and footwear. And they were alarmed by what they say is a poorer and poorer quality. So making also the reuse and secondhand business for fashion a bit more complicated. And I think if we could have also as part of the product requirements some clear requirement for durability or even repairability on some clothes, such as jackets, making it easy to change zipper, or at least feasible, I think that could also help with that regard. So I agree with Matthias, we need some policy, and that could come in two directions, kind of trying to slow down, fast fashion and overconsumption, and also trying to create a level playing field, as we say in Europe, so a competition field where more quality product will be placed on the market. And this can be partially addressed through the coming product policy and hopefully textile sustainable strategy.
Thank you. And then there is another question from Katja Wiberg, who highlights the paradox that unfortunately the overall consumption is still rising, and whereas we have achieved certain results in reducing material through energy efficiency, she's asking how to ensure that total virgin natural resource consumption declines within the circular economy transition, let's say. So I do not.
Again, sorry, Matthias, you wanted to go?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, this is a very good question. At the moment, we've got a few countries, notably 2 countries, Netherlands and Finland, for example, who have set for themselves, a reduction in the virgin material they use. And as part of this reduction in virgin material to be used on their national market, of course, they want to enhance recycling, but they also need to develop extending lifetime, reuse and repair. So I think that is the kind of target that could help. And that's why at the moment, we try to promote the idea of material footprint or resource use reduction target at EU level, which is the equivalent of emission reduction target for the climate policy or energy saving target for the energy. That would, for us, also enable to develop in different sectors, different practices to try to save on virgin material, as we've experienced for climate and energy with sectoral measure and sectoral good practice being spread all over our economy now.
Thank you, Matthias. Would you still like to add something to Stefan's answer?
Yeah, it's just one small point. I think one of the to support what's the policies that Stefan is demanding would be a really strong and heavy taxation of CO2 emissions on one side, and also on primary resource extraction on the other side. So these two things have to be taxed. And not only within the European Union, but also at the border. If products enter the European market, the emissions they have created before in other regions have to be taxed at the border. Mm-hmm. So border adjustment tax, not only for CO2, but also for material footprint of a product. That is important. So so that would help a lot to redirect the economy with its own tools, because it's simply economic tools. Economy is reacting and business are reacting only on economic things. They are not reacting on nice to have labels or whatever that is. They react on hard economic facts.
Thank you very much for your extensive answers to also very thought-provoking questions. And now, since we are running to the end of the session, I would like to ask each of you to, taking into account what we have discussed now, make one takeaway remark to the audience, and possibly in 1 or 2 sentences. So maybe Patrizia, what have we learned today, and what would be your takeaway to the public?
Yes, so I think that what I can bring is really this idea of responsibility that all of us we have in consuming, in producing. So it's really this is personal one, and for more professional one is really the idea to continue to really work in order that we try to see the social economy and the work we are doing not a solution for problems, but really an active part of the industrial ecosystem. Yeah, thank you.
Fully agree, and thank you very much. And Stefan, what would be your takeaway?
Well, thank you. I think I would really like that we can reconciliate, or not reconciliate because they are not at odds, but I mean, bring together the vision set by Patricia about the proper recognition of social economy and the vision I try to bring about the key role they have to also help us achieve this circular economy that will save on resource. And I think we've got a framing for that, which is the well-being economy. Because if we say the well-being economy, and a part of this well-being economy is that GDP growth is not the ultimate driver, but also reducing social inequality becomes a main driver of our economy, then we've got the perfect framing to really develop further the social economy, recognize its role, but not as a kind of second grade or only an economy that needs to be supported because they take care of the one the economy just let down, but just because now the criteria of our economy is well-being economy, including this social justice, this fairness. That means that social economy entrepreneurship model will become, like, in a way, mainstream because they can contribute to this. So my invitation and my hope is that we'll collaborate further, EEB and RREUSE and the social economy and the green NGO toward this well-being economy.
Thank you very much. And Matthias, on your part, what would be your message to the audience?
I have now once more realized that we have to leave our silos of thinking and learn to think cross-sectoral. We tried this in this discussion a little bit. We have now the social economy on one side. We have environmental policy making, progressive policy making on the other side, and our organization RREUSE is more or less the fusion of both. It's in the middle, so it's an example of cross-sectoral thinking, but we need a lot more of that. And so with that, I would really like to thank you, Patricia and Stefan, for not only for being here today, but also for the long and really good cooperation in the past and hopefully in the future. I'm looking forward to that. And yes, as Stefan said, we are a strong alliance, also with a lot of other NGOs and other organizations and sectors and we can only if you followed what was the outcome of the Glasgow of the COP conference. We saw with that it's really badly needed that we leave these silos of thinking and cooperate in the future to have a good life for all on this planet in a really just circular society and economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you to all the speakers for such an enriching discussion. We almost coined a new term, well-being maintenance economy, and it was really a pleasure to have you here today. And now just I would like to announce a comfort break of 6 minutes, and we will be back shortly with you for the second panel. So my sincerest thanks to the speakers and also to my colleagues at the back end for taking care of the technical side.